I welcome you all on the 6th day of 21-day free workshop, which I am conducting live on Instagram and then posting on my YouTube channel, Nehaa Goyal Dream Reading. If you want to join me live and ask questions while we are discussing, you can join me on my handle Nehaa Goyal, which is NEHAAGOYAL. The idea of this entire initiative is to put across certain ways, certain methods, which as a transformation coach, I can tell you all to imbibe in your day-to-day life or to practice in your day-to-day life, such that these 21 days which nature has gifted to us, we are able to utilize it to the best of our efforts in putting a strong foundation for ourselves emotionally, mentally, as well as physically. By the end of these 21 days, if you do follow what is being put across, it will be something which will definitely add value to your life and transform your life. Of course, you can get in touch with me for a customized 21-day workshop, which could be through WhatsApp. Also has an option of video call sessions. And if you want to book that, you can get in touch with me for sure. An offer which I announced yesterday, which is valid only for those people who are on this video or watching me on YouTube, that I am offering 35% discount on all of my services. So, I'm a tarot reader, a numerologist and a DNA astrologer, apart from the WhatsApp workshops that I do for transformation. Earlier, each of these consultations, which is tarot, numerology and DNA astrology, was for 2,700 rupees or $50. After the discount, it is at a very reasonable price of 1,755 rupees and $32. I understand what we are going through these days, and because of which there is a lot of insecurity which might be brimming up as well. You all might be having a lot of questions. To decide upon the next phase of your life, the best way to choose, this is something which I thought that I can offer. Of course, I'm offering these free sessions and then 35% discount on my consultations. Okay, so coming back to the day 6, way 6. Now, what I have been doing is that I have been trying to figure out certain stories which will help us in appreciating and understanding the lessons of the ways that I want to initiate you into in a much more easier way. So going forward, keeping that in mind, let me begin today's story. In fact, the story that I want to speak about today is a very popular story. If you are from India, most of you must have heard of this story. Now, this was a story set in a time when Krishna was growing up. Now, right after Diwali, what he saw happening around his village was that people were busy and really busy in preparing for something. He was thinking that the festivities are over. Diwali has just gone by. What is it that everybody is really preparing for? And that too, this preparation was even more grand than Diwali. He went around looking for answer. He checked with his friends. They didn't know. He checked with other people, but everybody was just really very busy in preparing for this festival. So he finally asked his father, his foster father, what is it that is going on? The father replied that we do a preparation or a prayer to Lord Indra at this particular time, so that we ensure and we make him happy, such that there is enough rain in our land. And do consider that these all were gwalas and farmers. So for them, the rainy season is very important. Now, Krishna being Krishna, and as it is said that he was also the avatar of Vishnu himself, Krishna said that you don't really need to appease someone else. Trust whatever will happen will happen. You can't really control that. Appeasing somebody wouldn't really help you. Now just imagine, this is something which they are used to preparing forever. This is a tradition which had been going on in this village. But because by now, a couple of them did, or a lot of them, they did know, they had seen what kind of work, what kind of amazing stuff Krishna has done around. So they believed him. And they did not do the prayer, or they stopped the preparation and instead utilized that money in helping out other people, buying more fodder for their cow, basically just put it into use where they felt that now that they have excess money and they can use it in development of this village. Indra, who was sitting in the heavens, his ego got hurt. And what he did right after that was he sent a rampage of thundering clouds and rain to this village. It kept raining and raining and raining and raining to the extent that the village was almost at the brink of flooding. Krishna saw this and also understood that what Indra is up to. So what he did was, and imagine, just he's a little boy, okay, probably 7-8 years or so, not very old. So what he did was that he went and he picked up a huge mountain on his pinky finger. This huge mountain is known as the Govardhan Parvat. He invited all the villagers to take refuge while it is raining under this Govardhan Parvat. Everybody once again heard him and took refuge. All their cattle, interestingly, everything that they owned, their cattle, their fodder, their milk containers, everything was able to take refuge, including themselves, under the Govardhan Parvat. And they came and they took refuge under that. Indra finally realized the folly that he has done, the ego with which he had come forward, and realizing this, feeling ashamed, he retrieved the reins. This entire story came to be known as the story of the Govardhan Parvat. And it is said that Govardhan Parvat is still there in India, and people do go there and do parikrama. They take rounds of that Parvat. Basically, they pray to that Parvat, which was actually missing the point of Krishna, but that's how we often do things, and we forget to take the message out of the story. So, once again, what is the message that you all could be taking out of this story? Can anybody write in the comment section what could be the day 6 way 6 hidden in this story to transform our life? And trust me, it's not very difficult. It's not something very complicated. In fact, a lot of us have heard about it, but often wonder how to do it. These stories, directly from the mouth of Krishna, actually have made it very easy to understand what is the day 6, way 6, and how to do it. Anybody wants to take an attempt? Let me enjoy the music in the meanwhile. Do join me and do avail of the 35% discount if you have to, which currently I'm offering on tarot, numerology and DNA astrology services. So where earlier they were $2,700 each or $50, after the 35% discount, they're $1,755 rupees or $32. Okay, so ego in check, to not always look outside for help. That is an excellent sharing and absolutely makes sense. That to not always look for something else to help you. Okay, correct. So basically, the day 6, way 6 is that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you prepare yourself, still there are certain things in this universe, by the virtue of all those lessons that you have to learn and all those karmas that you have to enjoy or suffer, certain unknown things will happen to you unexpectedly. And you might not be able to control them completely. These are those situations in which you might feel hopeless, restless, anxious, and basically as if things are not under your control. In fact, a lot of times you will also feel that I did all that I could, but still this thing happened with me. The message from this story for such times is, yes, you will always have such situations, and such situations are basically teaching you how to lose control, let go, and surrender. Surrender in what? Well, for those who probably are into the religious sect, they do go and surrender to a deity, but basically surrender to the bigger picture, which may be being that one villager in the entire village you are not able to look at, but there is a bigger theme going on. For example, in this story, probably the bigger theme was that Indra's ego had to be mellowed down and he had to be brought back to his level and do his work, much more unconditionally, which he was assigned, instead of doing it only when he is appeased. Right? Or to know that as far as certain things are concerned, they will happen and you will have no control over it. So whatever the case be, we as a peck don't know what is the bigger picture. And such situations are really teaching us how to surrender, let go, and believe that whatever will happen for the best, even though in the given moment it doesn't seem so. Even though what seems like in the given moment is as if we are suffering. After all those villagers must have felt that I wish we had not heard what Krishna was saying. At least all of this wouldn't have happened. But no, they didn't say that. Or maybe a few did. But most of them were okay and willing to take refuge. In fact, what happened a year later was that now that Indra had got his lesson, he was not, and there was nobody else who was appeasing him or doing all of those preparations in the village the next year. In fact, they were using all that money to develop the village further, to develop its road, to develop their own house and fodder, right? So surrender once, even if it feels like a suffering. A lot of people, while I'm taking the workshop or otherwise, ask me this question, that how do I surrender? How do I let go? Now, surrendering and let go is not a technique which can really be taught. It is something which you just have to do. It's an action that you have to take. For example, breathing in and breathing out is something which you are born to do. Nobody teaches you how to do it, right? So there is no process which you can be initiated into. There is no diagram which can be shown to you. It is just something which you have to do, experience, repeat, experience, repeat, experience, repeat. And that is how it will imbibe into your veins. It will imbibe into your nervous system, into your cell memory, into your brain concepts. Of course, being a transformation coach, see, story is an abstract way of putting across a concept. As a transformation coach, I am telling you that surrendering comes through habit. Now, do I mean that in every situation you shouldn't take an action and that you shouldn't try and plan? No, that's not what I mean. I am specifically talking about those conditions which do not feel like they're in your control. For example, other person's behavior or other person's decision to invest in you or not invest in you. Then certain other things could be, for example, to get a job, or if you will not get a job, will this person love you or not love you? If this person will come back or not come back. Such situations. In these situations, do only those things up till which you can control. Now, who do you have a control over? Over yourself. You, yourself, your emotions, your well-being, your mindfulness, and your own transformation. You do not have control over someone else. For example, let's look at you and I also. The only thing that I can do in this given situation is put across these tips, tricks, techniques, put across the discount. I cannot force you into practicing these ways. Neither can I force you to take these consultations. In fact, if I try to do that, you will lash out on me and you will tell me that how dare you? How can you force me to do a particular thing? That is exactly how other people feel when you go beyond and try to control their behavior towards you. Now, one is that aspect. The other aspect is that how much can I control myself in a particular situation. The idea is to be driven, to learn how to be driven by mindfulness and not always by the emotions, which means that in this particular situation, always take an inventory. Now, these are a few things that I have a jurisdiction over and I can probably do something about. And these are a few things which I can only feel anxious about. There is nothing which I can control in it. For example, rains weren't going to get controlled by the villagers, but they were trying to do that. And that is exactly what Krishna was trying to tell them, that it shouldn't really depend upon what you do or what you don't do. In terms of appeasing, not in terms, I don't mean in terms of exploiting nature, but in terms of appeasing. You can appease a person as much as you want, but you still might not be able to make that person do exactly as you want it to do. And the worst is that when you stop appeasing that person, will that person still continue to do what he or she is supposed to do for you? Just like in the story, it was Indra's duty to let the rain pour in that particular village at a particular given time. Did the villagers really need to appease him? And let's say when they did stop appeasing him that one time, what did Indra do? He made it rain, in fact, thunderously rain, out of his ego. So are you fanning someone else's ego by doing those daily actions, by not creating a healthy boundary? So these are all bigger aspects of your own transformation. What is that trigger in you, that element in you, which is looking for validation from someone outside of you, thinking that that person will come and make your life a better place to live? So these are such situations where you feel that the trigger of yours lie in someone else's behavior, where you can go inside and check that where is that trigger where I am depending upon this someone else for my basic well-being, for my basic contentment in life. And then, as I said, that do remember there are certain things which you will be able to control. And yet again, there will be those things which no matter how hard you try and no matter how good a person you are, they're just not in your control. And those things are one of the biggest lessons of your life, and they are basically teaching all of us how to surrender and how to let go. And this surrender and let go could be depending upon your belief. As I said, some will believe in religion, some will believe in a greater power, some will believe in in themselves, right? So this was the day 6 basics, and I hope, I trust that you have with the story it was a lot clearer. And as I mentioned, it is not something, there's no technique which can really teach you, except the technique is getting into a habit and a practice of it. So get into a habit and a practice of it. Begin with those small little things, really small things which do not have a huge impact in your life. And you know best what are those small little things in your life. So begin with those. And slowly and steadily over a period of time, you will for sure get into a habit of it. Of knowing when to surrender and knowing when to take an action. Knowing when worrying will help. In fact, worry doesn't ever help. What it does is that it lets you know that, okay, this is something which is not going as per the plan. So do I need to change it or do I need to get out of that situation? That is what worry is basically telling you. Right? So this is what I wanted to share. Do join me for day 7, way 7 on my Instagram live. The handle is called Nehaa Goyal, Nehagoyal.